Good afternoon. On this video I want to deal with an issue that has become an inconvenient truth for Bible believers, the issue of geocentricity. You'll find that many people who claim to believe in the King James Bible will flinch when they get to this issue because they are intimidated by the so-called science of heliocentricity. Geocentricity is the idea, the biblical view, that the earth is standing still and is the center of the universe, and the universe goes around it. Heliocentricity is the view that the earth is just like any other planet and goes around the sun. This is a false view. It is an unscriptural view, and it is a part of the Copernican revolution, which made man just a irrelevant creature in God's universe, or they basically took God out of the universe and made it a mechanism. Now you think Bible believers would automatically reject this view, but many Bible believers, even King James Bible, when I say Bible believers, King James Bible believers, would actually are afraid of this issue and sidestep it. Dealing with this, for instance, Peter Ruckman in his commentary on Joshua, he gets to Joshua 10 verses 12-13. 12-13 are the, probably the most clearest revelation of geocentricity in the Bible. And he'll say here on dealing with these verses. Now there are all sorts of things connected with this passage, dealing with verses 12-14. I guess it starts at 12. He's talking about 12, that particular verse. We're not going to get into the arguments for or against either geocentricity, the universe revolves around the earth, or heliocentricity, the earth rotates on its axis and revolves around the sun. Well, you can't avoid this in this passage, because the miracle is a geocentric miracle. So trying to avoid it in these passages is simply nonsense, and what you're trying to do is avoid the key passage, which is teaching geocentricity. Suffice to say is that Joshua's command for the sun and moon to stand still was from the perspective of the observer. So he's dealing with verse 12. Note the words "in the sight of Israel" in verse 12. That's fine. In verse 12 it was from the sight of Israel. Not in verse 13. Verse 13 tells us exactly, it's God speaking now. In 10:13 it says here, after verse 12, when Joshua said that prayer and asked God to stop the sun and the moon, what did God do? And the sun stood still, and the moon stayed until the people had avenged themselves upon the enemies. Is this not written in the book of Joshua? So the sun stood still in the midst of heaven and hasted not to go down about the whole day. So verse 13 isn't from the perspective of man. Verse 13 is from the perspective of God. He tells us what happened. Now, some people say, well, man wasn't able to know about the rotating of the earth, and therefore that's, God just used those words. God could have said that it appeared that the sun stopped. He didn't say that. He said exactly what happened. And if you're a Bible believer, King James Bible believer, you have to believe the words of God. Now, we need a second witness. If you go to Isaiah 38, you want to build doctrines on one verse. But if you go to Isaiah 38:8, you see again the same issue. 38:8, Ezekiel, where he prayed that he might live, and God gave him the extra years, and he gave the proof that the shadow on the sundial moved backwards. And it says there that, behold, I will bring again this shadow of the degrees, which is gone down in the sundial of Ahaz, 10 degrees backward. Now here's God speaking, saying what's going to happen, how that's going to happen. So the sun returned 10 degrees. Nothing complex, but nothing vague about that. The sun returned 10 degrees, by which degrees it was gone down. So if you're going to avoid geocentricity, you have to avoid those verses. You've got to twist those verses. You have to ignore those verses. Ruckman, in his commentary on Joshua, does exactly that. Doesn't address verse 13. That's just like any person who, any other person, unbeliever, Bible rejecter would do. You have to avoid the verses that would contradict the view you hold. So Ruckman holds a heliocentric view, and then tries to avoid dealing with the heliocentric view by saying it's still miracle, but we're not going to discuss heliocentricity or geocentricity. The fact is that God has shown something in there, and Ruckman doesn't want to deal with it. As I said, geocentricity is a inconvenient truth. It is troublesome to those who don't want to believe the King James Bible in its entirety. The King James Bible will bring you to places you don't want to go, and it will test you. It will test you on your volition, and it will test you on your faith and your belief system and what you're going to reject. And sometimes even guys who will believe the King James Bible and almost everything will stop short, like in the case of Ruckman. But geocentricity is a Bible fact. It is not a theory. And clearly Joshua 13 is telling us from the perspective of God what he did. Joshua and Isaiah 38:8 clearly says the same thing. The earth is standing still in the middle of the universe. That's the geocentric view, and that is the Bible view. The heliocentric view is a lie, and it is part of the Copernican revolution, which is anti-biblical, and in fact led to the acceptance of evolution. So Christians will fight against evolution, but you got to go a little further back and fight against the root of evolution, which is the heliocentric movement, which made man basically irrelevant in God's plan, and removed the Bible from the center of man's wisdom and put in science, falsely so called. Amen. Thank you.